We're so glad that you're joining us on the last Sunday in September. And prior to our service, Charlene and I were just having a chat about how excited we are that the fall leaves us soon. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Leesburg. We're so glad that you're joining us.
Go ahead. Go.
There we go. Should I start again?
Yeah, start again, sure.
Okay.
Add it up so I can make sure it would stream. Sorry, go ahead.
This is take 2, and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Leesburg. We're so glad that you're joining us on the last Sunday in September. And prior to our service starting, Charlene and I were talking about how excited we are about fall, and soon we'll be seeing the leaves change. Our theme for this year is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. And our focus this month is upward movement and reaching higher. And today's talk is And Still I Rise, given by our wonderful spiritual director, Charlene Banks. We're so glad that you took time out of your Sunday to join us today. And we invite you to get comfortable and relax into this moment as we officially kick off our service. Oops, but first, I want to invite you to stay with us after our service. Stay right here on Zoom. If you've got questions about what is Center for Spiritual Living, we've got answers. So think of some questions that you just have been in the back of your mind, you're dying to ask us, and just hang around with us afterwards. In addition to our pearls, we'll be doing a little Q&A, and we will answer all of your questions. Now, let's officially kick off our service. Please join us as we create our sacred space. We set our intentions of deepening into our awareness and practice of our 5 pillars of spiritual living by lighting this candle in our virtual world. Our first pillar is sacred study, represented by the divine quality of truth. We use this pillar to recognize the importance of an open mind and the power of our minds. The second pillar is affirmative prayer, represented by the divine quality power. This pillar honors the power of prayer in our daily lives. Our third pillar is meditation and the divine quality of peace. This pillar reminds us of the importance of meditation and the peace we feel when we quiet our minds. The fourth pillar is circulation and the divine quality of life. We know that the great law of circulation works in our lives. As we give, so shall we receive. And the fifth pillar is sacred service and the divine quality of love. This pillar affirms our call to be of service to our world as we see through the eyes of love. Let us close our eyes as we bless this sacred space and our time together. As we weave each of these pillars of spiritual living into our service today, may they deepen our own spiritual practices of study, prayer, meditation, circulation, and service, expanding our minds and our hearts to the 5 divine qualities of truth, power, peace, life, and love. We also bless everyone who made our service possible today and everyone in attendance. May the energy of love that is generated here bless everyone abundantly. And so it is. And so it is. Please feel free to add to the chat or in the comments any prayer requests or celebrations that you would like us to include later in the service when we provide our community spiritual mind treatment, which is a form of affirmative prayer. And now please join us as we move into our time of meditation with Charlene.
Thank you, Tamara. So wonderfully done, as usual. You're such a bright light. I appreciate you. And I do love this fall air. So yes, let's just take a moment, though, and get settled. I'll have to keep an eye out for the door just in case people want to get in. It's always a thing. I'll be watching out of the side of my eye. But that doesn't mean I'm not completely in contemplation with you, because now it's time for our community meditation. And so as a community, we sit. We sit together in the silence. And yes, sometimes I'll remind you of some things to keep your mind on track. But as a community, we grow in our connection to one another and to the world when we sit in silence. So if you'd like, if you feel like it, if you want to get settled, you can plant your feet solidly on the ground for grounding. In your chair, just come to a comfortable, not too erect position, and close your eyes if you're willing. And as we let the outer world melt away, we bring our focus to our inner world. Allowing our breath to slow. Nice deep in-breath and out-breaths through our nostrils. Relaxing all of the muscles on our body that may be tense. Starting with our face. Is your face tense? Are your eyebrows crunched together? Relax. Moving our focus down to our jaw. Is your jaw clenched? Allow it to slacken. Continuing that deep breath. Check in with our shoulders. Relaxed. Our hands are relaxed in our laps. Our legs are released so that they're simply balanced on top of our feet. And the bells, the sound of the singing bowl, the sound of the chime. It's like a coming home call. Come home. Come home. For this is the home of the divine, as it expresses as you, as me. We are one with this presence. It's never far away. It is nearer than our very breath, closer than our neck vein, nearer than our hands and our feet. Always. the Divine Mother to hold you in her palm, in her heart. Feel that soft glow of light, healing light surrounding us. Mm. That light surrounds us with love, with peace, with abundance, with power, insight, and intuition. We already know what is ours to do. It is with this divine presence, this Mother, Father, God that embraces us and holds us. We are always, always held right here in this space. We just sometimes forget to stop and become present with it. And so, knowing that we can return to this space of love and acceptance and peace at any time, I invite you to simply return back into the room, wiggling your toes if you need to get yourself back here. And just knowing that all is well and we are right exactly where we need to be in this very moment. And so it is. And now we have music by Leah.
Good morning, CSL Leesburg. When we're talking about music that exemplifies the idea that our challenges help us to grow into what we are, not in spite of them, but also because of them, I think no music exemplifies that more clearly than the spirituals of African Americans. So, this song is one you may have heard before, and as always, I'd like to invite you to sing it along with me. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Who's that yonder, dressed in red? Wade in the water, children. It must be those people that Moses led. God's gonna trouble the water if we just wade in the water. Wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Let's do that again. Wade, won't you wade in the water? Wade in the water. Oh, won't you wade in the water? Oh, won't you wade in the wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the
God's gonna
water.
trouble.
Who's that yonder, dressed in blue? Wade in the water, children.
The
I know
water
God's people are
children
coming through.
wading in the
That God's
water.
gonna trouble
It's
the
God's gonna
water.
trouble.
We just wade, wade,
Wading in the
oh,
water.
wade,
Wade in the water children.
wade in the
Wading in
water. God's gonna trouble the water.
Woohoo! Mm-mm-mm. I love, love, love that song. And I'm going to, hold on, let me fix this. It always messes up, right? Spotlight. I love that. You guys, it was awesome. I loved hearing people in the room singing too. Wade in the water. Mm-mm-mm. Now I know my sister's listening. She and I grew up, we went to the red church on the end of the corner. I think it was a Methodist church, right? And we were part of the choir, and we did that little step, that two-step up the aisle. Way. And then, I mean, it really was the best. I had way too much fun at church. I think, yeah. So I love that Leah just brought it back. And it's true. We have a lot in our bones. Some of us being African Americans, we can reach back to some of those spirituals that lifted us up beyond our circumstances. The whole point of a Negro spiritual was to raise our spirits high so that even though our bodies were enslaved, they couldn't get our spirit. That was ours to hold. And so the way we did that, and we had lots of different ways of doing it. One of those was through music, through song, and absolutely that really just did the job. And it's interesting too, because I have a couple of things to present to you, but the first thing is, you recognize the title of this talk, And Still I Rise. And you can hear Maya Angelou's voice, can't you? And still I rise. So of course I had to go find it on YouTube, and of course I found it. So let us start with that, because I feel like from that there's so many talking points that I hope to share with you. So give me a moment as I share the screen again.
Good.
Here it is.
You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Just 'cause I walk as if I have oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like suns and like moons, with the certainty of times, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eye, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soul surprise? Does my sassiness upset you? Don't take it so hard just 'cause I laugh, as if I have gold mines digging in my own backyard. You can shoot me with your words, you can cut me with your lies, you can kill me with your hatefulness, but just like life, I'll rise. Does my sexiness offend you? Oh. Does it come as a surprise that I dance as if I have diamonds at the meeting of my thighs?
Not as a prophet, but as a humble servant of you
Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past rooted in pain I rise. A black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak miraculously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave.
What immediate results do you hope to achieve?
And so,
Well, we hope to achieve
naturally,
equal rights for any human being with
I'll rise. I'll rise. I'll rise.
Right? Man, that just does it for me. Her voice, still I rise. Oh man. So what a timely talk. In fact, this semester in my ministerial school, we are studying Martin Luther King because we're studying spiritual leadership. And yes, what a great spiritual leader Martin Luther King continues to be. And Martin Luther King Jr., I should be sure to say Jr. because his father was also a minister. But just continues to impress upon our hearts because Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said to us, you cannot fight the oppression with violence because although it would feel good in the moment, in the long term, you're purchasing more and more violence for your future generations. And I was like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's right. And the other part of me was like, but it's so angering. I get very angered when I feel and I hear about all the injustices, as did Martin Luther King Jr. back in the 60s. And so we're reading some things that he said, and what really stuck out with me is this one piece that talks about, he starts with Jesus. He always starts all of his lessons with the stories from the master teacher, Jesus. And he said that Jesus told his disciples, he knew that they were going to go out in the midst of a lot of persecution for what they were teaching. And he told them, you need to go out and be a sheep in the midst of wolves. He says these words, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. And so as I'm thinking about his admonition, Jesus's and Dr. Martin Luther King's, I was thinking, right, so how do you do both of those? Well, I didn't have to think that hard because I had to just keep reading. Here's what it is. He says, we must have a tough mind and a tender heart. And I thought about this. I'm going to go through what he means, and then I'm going to allow you to make those analogies in your mind because I know I did it. And then we'll meet together at the end and see if what you're thinking matched what I was thinking. So he says back in the 60s that a tough mind, as opposed to a soft mind, a tough mind is like being wise as serpents. So a tough mind, how do you know you're working with a tough mind? Because you're using incisive thinking. You are looking at the facts behind something. You're using realistic appraisal. You're looking, he says something, and of course in my mind I went to, not wishful thinking, but looking at the facts, following science, decisive judgment based on evidence. So using your mind as it was meant to be used. Critical thinking, not just reading something and believing it. Critical thinking, logical thinking, just using your brain is what it was called when I was coming up. This means if you're tough-minded, you don't jump to easy answers. You don't have magical thinking. Oh, well, it's just going to be over and it'll be fine. No. You don't follow that train of thought. You don't have any half-baked ideas about things. You follow with a tough mind, you follow logic to its logical conclusion, even if it's a little uncomfortable. Now, what is the opposite of a tough mind? A soft mind. Now, a soft mind is gullible. If you see it in writing, well, it must be true. You did your research on Facebook. Sorry, I had to do it. Couldn't help it. You fear change if you have a soft mind. You don't want things to change because that is scary. And because somebody told you this is how we've always done it, you don't question it. The idea of questioning it has been baked into you that you should not question it because your puny little mind can't possibly comprehend all the powerful things. Just do what we tell you. That's a soft mind. It is the cause, Dr. Martin Luther King says, of racial prejudice. It's the root of it. Believing false facts and believing superstitious ideas to support some propped up structure like racism, you know, the white supremacy as a propped up structure based on false things, and then the soft-minded types will allow that to just represent truth. Any ideas of doubt or discernment, if you have those ideas, you're either removed from the group or you're taught that, you just kind of shunned a bit until you come back in. So that's tough mind versus soft mind. So we are to be tough-minded. Jesus said, be wise as serpents, tough-minded, but harmless as doves. So if you have a tough mind, what you shouldn't have is a tough heart, because then you're just not that fun to be around. And we're going to put it like that. If you had a tough mind and a hard heart, you don't love anybody, and it's your way or the highway. If you have a tough mind and a hard heart, you will use people to your advantage. They are just cogs in a wheel. And if it's very transactional, you're only friendly with people as long as they can give you what you need. But as soon as they become not useful, well, you get rid of them however way you want. And no compassion whatsoever for what that other person's feeling. So obviously, this is pretty harmful. We don't want to be tough-minded and hard-hearted. We want to be tough-minded and tender-hearted, as Jesus said, wise as serpents, harmless as doves. And so what does it mean to have a tender heart? This is the part that gets to be a little tricky, at least for me. Jesus said that you love your neighbors, you love and you forgive, and that those two go together. You love and you forgive. Because without forgiveness, there is no love, and without love, how could you hold back forgiveness if you're truly loving? And so I started to struggle a bit with this because I'm like, well, how about I forgive and then don't forget? Can I do that? Looks like apparently that's not the approach. You're supposed to forgive and forget and start anew. Start your relationship with the so-called offender anew. And then of course, I'm reading stuff and I'm going, so what if that person's dangerous? Like, do I have to invite them, like the lion, back into the house if the lion has proven that he has lion-like tendencies? And the answer is, well, no, obviously don't put yourself in harm's way. But you love the person and you can hate the behavior. Like, you don't have to accept the behavior. Because remember, Martin Luther King Jr. was all about nonviolent resistance. But he never said, well, we hate those that hate us. No. We hate the constructs, the ideologies, and the structures that they put up. But those are people that don't even know. They don't even know what they're doing. We love them because they don't know what they're doing, but we're going to resist. Oh, that's definitely a fact. But we don't resist out of that hard-heartedness, out of that violence, because all we do is beget more violence. So it's a very complicated thing. And let's see what Native Americans think about this. Well, It's talking about rising above. So one way to allow yourself to forgive somebody and not be entangled with the hating of that person. When a storm is coming, all other birds seek shelter. The eagle alone avoids the storm by flying above it. So in the storms of life, may your heart soar like an eagle. It's from the Native American teachings. So think about this. What about the terrible times that you've had? Because last week, Bridget talked about the pain. And she talked about there's like 3 approaches. The first one, keep calm. Carry on, right? Keep calm and get through it. And she talked about gratitude. So the minute that you are triggered and someone's just being wrong and horrible to you, be grateful, because that is the moment that is for you to grow through. You grow because of this thing that came to you. Isn't that hard to hold in your mind though? Because part of you says, well, so you're telling me in order to become this spiritual person, I had to go through that experience? And that means that God sent me that experience to go through. It was horrible at the time. Do you think you had to grow through that experience? Maybe you did. Look back. Could you be sitting in the chair you're sitting with that beautiful face that you have if you didn't go through that experience? So I want to bring Tamara onto the screen here, because she is one that has been through some interesting things as well. Tell us, did you have to go? Tell us a little bit about your experience and whether you feel you had to go through that to be sitting where you are right now.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much. There are so many things that you said that triggered memories for me. I've had a few challenges. Probably the greatest challenge is something that's on my mind today. After our service, I have to go to a memorial service for one of my former students. And this gentleman passed away last weekend, and he was only 19 years old. And I don't think there is any greater challenge that a human being can face than the death of a child. Some of you know this about me, some of you don't, but 26 years ago, I had to say goodbye to my daughter, Leanne, who was an infant. And the saddest part is I had to say goodbye before I even had a chance to officially say hello. She was stillborn at full term. I've heard the term pearl of great price mentioned in the Bible, and I think I have a little bit of a different interpretation of it. At one point in my life, following Leanne's death, I lived along the banks of the Chesapeake Bay. And Chesapeake Bay is filled with oysters and crabs. And an oyster gets a pearl when a bit of sand goes into that oyster's shell. And that has to be so painful and so uncomfortable. You know what it feels like when you get a little pebble, teeny tiny thing in your shoe. And what does that oyster do? It coats it and coats it and coats it and coats it. And then at the very end, when it's all good and happy, it has this nice, smooth, shining pearl. And I often look back at the time in my life and I refer to that as the pearl of great price, because just like Charlene said, it doesn't happen when you're in the throes of it. Lord knows. It happens when you look back. After you've coated it and coated it and coated it and coated it, then you realize, holy cow, that was a pearl. And on the 25th anniversary, I went to my daughter's grave. And I was actually filled with some gratitude. Now, I'm never, ever, ever going to believe that God caused that to happen. God said, oh, you've got to go through this because you're going to end up better as a result. No, I will never subscribe to that. God has given us free will. And when there's free will, sometimes, guys, bad things happen. Just poop happens, right? But what happens afterwards? What happens afterwards? I was forced to go within. And I often say that was a turning point in my life. Because that first year, I read everything I could get my hands on on God, on heaven, on hell, on spirituality, on life after death. And I say that was the turning point in my life. That's when my spiritual walk, my spiritual journey really, really began. At the same time, around the same time, I was taking classes at George Mason, and I was introduced to the first time in my life on something called chaos theory. And chaos theory is exactly this, you know, sometimes just things happen. I wrote a poem about some leaves fall into a river, and some swiftly flow along the current of the river, and some get hung up on branches. And what leaves flow and what leaves get hung up, it's chaos theory. You know, we can't control bad things happening to us. But I know this beyond the shadow of a doubt. Whenever I was at my utmost, lowest points, when I thought I would not find the strength to be able to go on, I felt God's presence hold me up. And guys, that's all what faith is. When you are at your very, very, very lowest, and still I rise, I look up, because you're low. That's all the way. That's the only place you can look. You can't look down because you're at the rock bottom. The only thing that you can do is look up. And when I've had challenging times in my life, those who know me know 2 years ago I went through another pretty rough, rocky time. But I knew to look for those signs that God's got me. And they were there, no matter what you're going through. Go within.
Yeah, talk a little
Keep your
bit
heart
about that.
open. Keep your heart open.
Talk a little bit about that time a couple years ago too, because I really feel that's key as to why you are sitting right where you are. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I was really kicked low. And I learned that my marriage was ending, and there were a lot of circumstances around that just when I feel like I could kind of get the ground settling underneath my feet, wham, I'd get hit again. And sometimes I'll say I get postcards from Leanne, having a wonderful time, Mom, wish you were here. And at that very time, the thing that really held me together and made my faith strong, God said, you just need the faith of a mustard seed. And there's sometimes they're going, okay, God, it's a mustard seed. That's all it is. It's this big. But at that very time, I was given a student teacher who knew my daughter Heidi. And when I was having days where I could not function, I just looked right next to me and there was a student teacher. And I could duck out of the room and I could go cry my eyes out. My class was taken care of. I didn't have to do any subplans. I didn't have to make any arrangements. And that was that time. So my message is for anybody who's going through a rough time, just go within and say, okay, God, I know you're with me. I know you got me. How am I going to see you? How are you going to appear today? And it might be that friend who looks at you and says, holy cow, what's going on? How can I support you? How can I help you? Friends brought me meals. Friends helped me put gas in my gas tank when I was really struggling. Friends just listened to me when I needed that the most. I'll never forget a strawberry pie that showed up on a day that I didn't think I could put food in my body. I was that overcome with grief. I'll never forget the friends who brought me food or made donations. So just go within and yeah, you're hurting, but just know you're not alone, that God has got you. And you can be angry. You can be so angry, but don't stop and let that destroy your faith. Look around and look who's there to support you.
Yes, thank you, Tamara. I knew that you could totally deliver that message, and you nailed it. Thanks, hon. Love you so much. So glad to see you got through all that. Look at you now. Woohoo! All right.
Our God.
Awesome, always. So I'm just going to end with a couple quotes because I think she kind of nailed it. So one quote I have from this book called Your Soul's Assignment. It says, our problems, challenges, and limitations are tiny, insignificant matters compared with the immense power we have to overcome them. This is what Tamara was talking about. We are powerful beings. All of our power is generated from within. It continues. It rises up to meet whatever challenge it is faced with. This power is spiritual power that comes directly from the life of God within every individual, and it is limitless. So let's go within and have a prayer. If there's no requests for prayer, I'll do the generic thing. Just going within, just knowing that everything is happening perfectly for our unfoldment. So as we close our eyes, we just know that there's only one life, only one God. I say only, but that's all that there is. This entire existence, known as the universe, life itself, we are one with that. We are not separate from it. We move within it. Each and every one of us are facets of it. We can't be separated from it if we wanted to. And so that is the power within each and every one of us that we talk about today. And that is so divinely appointed even now. And it sits within, sometimes dormant, until we call upon it. And so right now, I'm turning within to that power, knowing that I am one with that power. And with this oneness comes my inherent ability. My spiritual, unlimited spiritual power comes from this divine. And so in this space of knowing that I am one with it, I know no limitation. I know no lack. There is no hurt. There's no pain that cannot be overcome by this presence. And so by focusing my mind and my words on the light, I know that it reaches into the darkest parts and illuminates them. So that whatever is showing up for us, even if man meant it for evil, God turns it into good. And we rise above any circumstances that we would think that were bad. And in the alchemy of spiritual practice, we turn it into the best thing ever. And it is because of the ability to use this power that is ours, just by our human nature. It is already ours. We are of the birthright that Jesus spoke of. He said, all that I can do, so can you. And so here we are stepping into this power that we have, knowing that whatever word we speak to be true for ourselves, it is so. And that is why we always speak the highest and the best into the room for ourselves. And so I know that each and every one of us, we're abundant. In physical wealth, in friendship wealth, in love, we are abundant in all of the things that are good. I know that each and every one of us here in this room or here in the sound of my voice is just experiencing unbounded, limitless joy. And that our lives are ever becoming more and more our true selves, our highest nature. We bless every situation that we are part of. We bring the light and the love to every being that we interface with, because this is who we are. This is our birthright. We have to do nothing but allow it. And so I'm excited that I get to speak my word. I get to know this truth. I get to be grateful for all that has already been given. And so I release my word into this law, this universal law that just says yes. And I simply say, thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. All right, let's hear from Leah.
This song to me feels like it's been around forever, but it's actually fairly new. It's less than 2 decades old. Was written, composed by Pat Wichter, who's a singer-songwriter out of Brooklyn. I strongly suggest you check out him and his music. This song is called Love is the Water That Wears Down the Rock. And once again, you know what's coming. I want you to sing with me. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is a power that won't be stopped. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is a power that won't be stopped. Love is the water that wears down the rock. You say your heart's been turned to stone. You say you wanna be left alone. You say love only made you weak and moan. But let me tell you something that you know in your bones. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is a power that won't be stopped. Love is the water that wears down the rock. You say waiting for love takes too long. It dulls the sharp mind and weakens the strong. Well, you may be right, but you may be wrong. 'Cause love can make a mountain come tumbling down. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Only love is the water that wears down. You know that love is the power that won't be. You know that love is the water that wears down the rock. A river washes over every woman and man. Get your feet in the gravel, get some mud in your hands. 'Cause nothing can stand against the love's command. Every boulder turns into a grain of sand. Because love is the water that wears down. Love is the water that wears down. You know and I know that love is the power that won't be stopped. Oh, love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is a power that won't be stopped. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is a power that won't be stopped. Love is the water that wears down. One more time, you know, love is the water that wears down. Only love is the water that wears down. Love is the power that won't be stopped. Only love is the water that wears down the rock.
Woot!
Woo, woo, woo. Oh my goodness gracious. Ah, Leah, you always kick it right out of the ballpark. Thank you so much. I think I'll be singing that the rest of the day. Now's the time to bless the donations that are shared with us today. At CSL Leesburg, we believe in the law of circulation. As we give, so shall we receive. And we are a tithing community. So the donations that are shared with our center bless everyone, those who give and those who receive. Please look at the screen. There's so many ways to give. It's easy to find a way that best works for you. We thank you so much for your support. Now, join me with our affirmation of oneness. The presence of spirit within me blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, brings gladness into the life of everyone I contact. Therefore, I am a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to the day in which I live. Oh my goodness gracious. Now, there I am again, guys, in case you just can't get enough of me. Join me on Saturdays in October for a class called Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. We'll meet on Saturdays via Zoom from 1 to 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. And I am so excited about this class. I know that we're going to have some great insight and great discussion as we come together. So 5 Saturdays in October, join me. We also have Dream Study going on whoop, 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 whoop. There it is on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Join Charlene, and please join us on Wednesday evenings midweek at 7:30 for our vision and prayer. All right, let's go back to talk about other big upcoming dates. Oh my goodness, we're so excited about it. October 3rd is New Member Sunday. So join us. It's really fun. Take the plunge and become an official member of CSL Leesburg. And we're going to have a very special Zoom ceremony for our new members. And the month of October is our annual conscious giving program. It's our commitment to giving. We can't do what we do without your support. So we're going to celebrate all the things that we do here at CSL. And we do these things because we have people who generously give their financial support. And on November 14th, we're going to have our annual meeting. And this is our business meeting for members where we look back, we review what we've done over the past year, and we start to talk about plans that we would like for the upcoming year. So many things going on at CSL Leesburg. And also, please stay. Don't forget that after our service today, in addition to our pearls, we're going to do our Q&A. So if you've got questions, we've got answers for you. So please stay, and Charlene is going to answer any question that you might have. All right, guys, they say time flies when you're having fun, when you're with good people and just hearing such great music and getting such a wonderful message. But now it's time to officially end our service. And we end it by placing our hands over our hearts. Just sincerely go within, recognize the wonderful God source within you, and know, and join me in saying, I am love. Now think about all those wonderful people and maybe animals in your life. Maybe they're near you. Maybe they're just on screen. Maybe they're far away, but they're always in your heart. And say, you are love. Then put your hands up in the air and just celebrate this glorious day and what you know about that you will always, always rise above, and say, it's all love. Thank you so, I heard it. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really hope that you stay today for our pearls and our questions and answers. And if by any chance you have to run off, we know that you are blessed. So thank you again for joining us. Have a beautiful Sunday. You are loved.